Hey, what is going on, my friends? It's Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. And we have yet another amazing guest on this morning, all the way from Australia, my friend. She is staying up super late for us to join us. And so we can talk about taking back your freedom of time and building a booming online business at the same time. Leah, welcome to the show.
Hi, good to meet you, Dave.
Hey, good to meet you too. Good to meet you too. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great. I'm so good. Welcome to tomorrow. It's technically Friday here in Australia.
So it's what time? About 10 a.m. on Friday morning, or what is it there?
It's just after midnight here
It's
in
just after
Melbourne.
midnight. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Not quite 24. For some reason, I thought I visited Singapore and I thought that they were on the same. I thought that they were a day ahead, but this was many years ago. Thank you for clearing that up. So it's midnight on Friday morning in Australia
Yes,
right now. Okay.
that's right.
All
Yeah.
right. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Leah, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and what led you to Legendary. What were you looking for when you were, or were you looking for anything when you found Legendary?
Great question. I was absolutely not looking for anything. No, it was summer holidays or Christmas holidays here in Australia. And I was doing what all the parents do, which is watching my kids on the beach and scrolling through my phone. And I came across Amelia Lund and was watching her do amazing things on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching her say, oh no, I've quit my 9 to 5 and I'm earning this much money. And I, at first, like everybody, thought it was not real. So I followed her for a little while. And after a while, I thought, you know what? I'm pretty sure I could do this. This girl's figured it out. So I clicked on her link and instantly thought it was a scam yet again. And did my deep dive Googling into your name, Dave. And hopefully she actually got the commission off me. Sorry, Amelia, if you didn't. But yes, that's how I found you.
Okay. Okay. So did you discover that it wasn't a scam? I mean, talk us through, because so many people right now are seeing, not only content and videos about us and about our course and about this idea of doing affiliate marketing, but they're also kind of seeing we're not the only person on the internet who's talking
Yeah.
about doing affiliate marketing, selling courses, selling coaching, selling events. You kind of get online and you realize, gee whiz, there's a lot of people doing this, and this has been happening kind of, all around me all this time. What helped you realize it wasn't a quote unquote scam?
Well, I Googled affiliate marketing to start with and then realized it was a real thing. And I actually reached out to Amelia as well and asked her a few questions, which was really helpful. And eventually I did do, the Googling helped. I saw that, there was a large offering of other courses that I could do. And I realized, reading all these pros and cons between, your course and another course, I was like, you know what? No one's going to give me an unbiased opinion. I may as well just jump in with my $7. It's worth a latte here in Australia and see where it goes. And I was hooked instantly. I loved it. The veil was lifted and I turned to my husband, John, and I was like, I have found a thing. This is very exciting.
Now, did you realize that many of the articles that you were reading online and the blogs and the research you were doing was also affiliate marketers who are trying to piggyback off of my name and our company's name and then sell other courses and things?
Yeah. I twigged probably like a week later. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people think I'm going to go figure out who this Dave Sharpe guy is and and then they don't realize that by going and doing research on me, they're actually seeing other marketers doing affiliate marketing, selling their courses, just simply piggybacking off of my name's keyword. And you can do that with anybody. I mean, you know, that's a great strategy that a lot of people use, is trying to rank for certain keywords, whether it be a person, place, or a thing. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Great. So, what is your background?
Well, I'm in my 40s, so I've had lots of different jobs. I'm like probably 50% of your audience. I've been a nurse before. I have been a youth worker, and more recently in management and leadership. So currently I run a campsite in Melbourne. Yeah.
Okay.
I get to help people have fun, and I'm not like most people. Like, I really love my job and I love the people I work with. But for me, it was a timepiece. It was, I have a really long commute to get to work. I'm there for long hours. I'm on call because I'm the manager. And it was just sucking so much time from my children. I've got a 3-year-old, that's my youngest, and a couple of older ones in school. And I think after 6 months of doing the job, it was the first time I'd gone back into full-time work after having all my kids. I could see the toll it was taking on them. And I was like, oh, this is not ideal. So when Legendary came up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. And I think I felt this emotion that I had not felt in a really long time, which was hope. I had been talking to girlfriends and being like, I just have this unicorn dream of motherhood. I want to be home. I want flexible work hours. I want to earn a crap load of money, but I want to be present. I want to be able to run my kids to school and take them to appointments, but still use my brain. Like, I have all this knowledge in my head and I want to be able to use it. So if someone could just magically make that appear, that would be great. And then poof, there you guys were. So good. I love it.
So, had to throw the hat on that one. So you said a unicorn kind of dream or fantasy for motherhood, and you listed off a couple of things that I think are not unicorn fantasies at all. I think every person, every mother, every father, every family deserves the opportunity to be able to choose, with all of the information laid out in front of them, the path that they want to take. Now, I'm not familiar of how it works in Australia, but in America, there's pretty much only one path coming out of high school, and that's go right into college and kind of go right into the workforce.
Yes.
Is it similar over in Australia? And is that the path that you followed up until this point, pretty much?
Yep. I was a very good girl. I got all the good grades in school. I went and got my nursing degree. I went and did my master's in leadership later on in life. And so I've spent a buttload of money on education. So when the opportunity came up to purchase the blueprints, I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. Like, something so cheap with so much value. Why would I not do it? Like, let's get onto this thing. This is amazing. Yeah.
I love that perspective, because that's the same perspective that I've kind of always had. And I didn't drop $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 on college, but I know many people that have, and I've talked to many people that have, and I have people in my family that have. My stepbrother and stepsister went to college, and they actually both have great, careers. I don't know how happy they are between, they live in different states, and we don't have those kind of conversations all that often. They seem pretty happy. They're making good money. But for a lot of people that I talk to on a regular basis, I also don't push these things on friends and family. I just do my own thing and let my friends and family do their thing. And I'm happy for them to have a thing. But here in America, it's a pretty one path system. And, that I've said the same thing that you just said, which is be a good little boy, be a good little girl, get good grades, go to graduate high school, go to college, get a job, work 40 hours a week for 40 years, and hope and pray that by the time you're in your 60s or 70s, you're still healthy enough to go and live your retirement, golden years, travel the world, all those kind of things that, and, my grandfather passed away at 59, and right after he retired. He had just retired and never even got a chance to be able to enjoy the life that he had worked so hard to be able to finally get to. What is it?
I think too, like our parents' generation too often had, like the boomers had businesses, right? Tradespeople, like my dad's a tradie and had a business. And I remember watching him struggle with that business. It just consumed him, body and soul. Like, his body is broken. He was a concreter, It just wrecked him. And I watched that and I went, if that's business, if that's being an entrepreneur, I don't want anything to do with that. And
Yeah.
so, seeing what Legendary allows you to do, it brought back that hope of, oh, there is another way. I don't have to sacrifice my entire well-being and my life to run a business.
Yeah.
It can be so much better.
That's a great point because up until this point, owning a business, you're right, could be and was a backbreaking, thing to take on because obviously previous to the invention of the internet, there was no opportunity to be able to make money online, so to say. So you had to get out there and get in, and that's exactly what my father did. It's exactly what I did, was get into construction and work construction. But there was something that you said a few moments ago. I looked at the blueprints and it was so cheap. Because you had that's just an interesting perspective because that's the same way that I see education, courses from people that I want to learn things from. And why do you think that, even if somebody spent tens of thousands of dollars on a college education that they're not using, they look at that as a legitimate cost, but look at a course online as a scam? Why do you think that is in our society today?
I think it's just learned behavior. I mean, if you've only been told one way or one thing, that's all you know, and that's okay. You don't know what you don't know, and you know what you know. But I think education is priceless, and if it gives you an opportunity for a new lifestyle, why would you not spend that money? It's an investment piece. I remember working for a company recently where I'd gone from a company that had this deep poverty mindset where the idea of investing in things like systems even was abhorrent to them. But then I went to another company where they're like, well, if we're going to do a great job, let's get the best that we can afford. And let's really invest in our people and invest in how we do things and our resources. And being around that kind of company, or being around those types of people who thought that way, was inspiring. It was infectious. And so I left that space going, okay, it's an investment piece. If I'm really going to have a crack at something, then you go all in. You get the best that you can afford and you go for it.
Yeah.
So, and really, compared to my master's, cheap.
Yeah. It's interesting that you even give the example of two different companies who have those different mindsets. And it just goes to show the power of how you see things. Some call it your mindset. I think under that umbrella is your perspective and how you choose to see things. And that even that sort of kind of a that perspective of systems and leverage and technology and things like that are evil or somehow, right? I mean, people, I see it all the time, right? I see it in watches, right? Like mechanical watches were the only thing for a long time, and then all of a sudden the quartz crisis came, and then it was like, okay, and then so we got through that. Mechanical watches still existed, but then Apple watches came out, and that was the ultimate digital watch. And a lot of the watch heads were like, "Oh, only mechanical watches. These, that's just a computer on a bracelet. That's not a real watch, right?" And it's like, I can understand that. I can see how you could have that perspective. And I'm a mechanical watch geek, but my father just got out of the hospital and he's been wearing an Apple iWatch that he can just press a button and just get his oxygen stats, get all his health stats right there. That is right now and could very well likely be a life-saving piece of technology. That if he came out of the hospital and was like, "No, I ain't wearing no Apple Watch. Give me my damn Rolex Submariner back." It's like, and here we are benefiting from this kind of unique piece of technology that was kind of made for society, and of course many people have adapted it. But there's some watch heads that may not, and or some people that may not. I'm not paying $900 or whatever it is for a dadgum watch. My Timex does that, right? And it's like just not even understanding all the possibilities of what that piece of technology can do.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, holding resource is precious. I mean, I even think about the owners of, I think it was Kodak, who they had the technology for digital photos and they chose not to use it because they were making so much money from film, from physical film. And I think about that, pardon me, and I'm like, what a waste. Like, you were so scared to take action on something that you missed that booming business, And so it's just crazy.
That's a powerful story. I'm not quite sure I'd heard that in that way before about Kodak and them having that. You said Kodak was the one who had the digital technology and they didn't use it. Yeah, and
they
then they
didn't use it.
eventually
They
went
had
out.
it and they could have used it. Yeah.
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 So,
Well,
I look at that and I go, you can have all the tools, but if you don't use it, like if you don't put it out there, then if you let fear control you, big,
So talk to us a little bit about, I mean, you're well educated, you've got a medical background, you're in leadership or in management right now. Talk to us a little bit about, I see some questions in the chat. Does the blueprints give the how and what? A lot of kind of questions around what's in our education. I mean, even those of you who have not gone through the challenge, I truly encourage you to go through it and just experience it for yourself. The blueprints, I mean, just so you all know, thousands and thousands of people have purchased the blueprints, and we have tons of success stories. And, how I position the education is that you're going to get out of it what you put in. I mean, you're not going to buy it and a magic easy button appears on your computer screen that you just kind of hit it, and all of a sudden commissions start falling out of the sky. There is a learning process, and there is a certain discipline that you have to have to, at the very least, consume the education, right? Go through it. And then what I've realized is that I don't actually know something just because I heard somebody else say it. I know it when I can apply it. What has it been like for you to go through this learning process, be new at something again, and how do you view going through this course and making something out of it? What is your responsibility? What is the course's responsibility? Can you talk a little bit about how you view that?
Oh, stop me talking about this. This is so exciting. I love learning. I constantly am doing courses. My husband's like, just take a break, please, for the love of God. Just stop just give us a little break from learning. Anyway, so, come the 15-day challenge, for example, it's so easy. It's so accessible. It's so self-paced. And, doing the learning in there, I'm sitting there, I'm taking notes and I'm writing down my questions so that when I'm meeting with my business plan advisor, I'm going in prepared. I'm making sure I'm understanding everything. If I don't get it, I'm Googling it. I'm looking it up, because if it's the opportunity that I think it is when I'm going through that 15-day challenge, I'm going to make sure I grab it with both hands. And so I think learning is such a wonderful responsibility that everybody has. And I think if you can turn it into a discipline, then you are set for life. You are set for life. There is nothing that you cannot learn. I mean, in leadership training, when we talk about recruiting people, you recruit for character often because you can teach someone anything. Like, skills can be taught. And so I think lots of people get nervous when they jump into the challenge or they jump into the blueprints and they think, oh, it's too much, or I'm not techie, or, what do I do? Where do I start? And it's like, take a deep breath. Nothing is unfigureoutable. There is so much resource at Legendary where if you feel stuck, just ask a question. Go to the community. I want to do a big shout out to Tim, who is on there. My gosh, that man is a gem. I think you need to start handing out medals for community support. He should get one.
Gold medal for Tim Hewitt.
Gold medal for Tim. So there's a great community. There is, the tech support that Legendary has. But equally, you are a person with autonomy and power and the ability to look things up. You don't have to go to somebody else all the time, So take responsibility for your learning and look at it as an adventure. Like, I have loved diving into the blueprints because I really enjoy sucking at things, which sounds weird, I know. But, I sucked at building funnels. I didn't even know what a funnel was when I started. I didn't know what email autoresponders were. And so I sat there and I read through it, or I watched the video, and I implemented it at the exact same time. I pause the video, I click the buttons that they tell me to click, and then I do, back, forth, and then I look at the thing and I go, voila, it worked. Look at that. If it didn't work, I went back and I rewatched the video. Some videos I rewatched 10 times, and that's okay. I have a master's in leadership and I rewatched videos on funnels 10 times. It's okay, people.
Yeah. It's there's no shortcuts to success. There's no shortcuts to success. I'm hearing, that's what I'm hearing you say. That's what I've learned also along the path, is that I'm not going to sit outside of the course, or I'm not going to sit outside of the community, or I'm not going to sit outside of the football field, or I'm not going to sit outside of the baseball field, or I'm not going to sit outside of the gymnasium, or I'm not going to sit in my car outside of the gym and get results.
No.
I'm not going to sit outside of the gym and go, man, I wonder what kind of machines they got. I wonder if it's really worth it. I wonder if I'm going to get results. I wonder if I'm going to get results. I wonder how much weight I'm going to lose. I wonder how much muscle I'm going to. I wonder if it's a scam. I wonder if the gym's a scam. We don't do that, right? Most of us just don't go do it, right? We don't go do it. And that's okay. It's okay if you don't do something. It's okay if you don't want to go to the gym. It's okay if you don't want to go through the challenge, go through the blueprints. It's okay if you don't want to do anything. Like, nobody's making, that's the cool thing about life, is that nobody's making us do anything. But what I've learned along the journey is that I'm just wasting my own time if I'm kicking the can outside of the gym door. I'm just wasting my life if I'm like, and what I've learned a lot about, if I want to make that more practical for everybody, is my indecisiveness has kept me broke and frustrated. My indecisiveness, my inability to make a decision, right? And I mean, we joke about this a lot in society, like how the guy, asks the girl, well, where do you want to go to for dinner? Or the vice versa, right? Where do you want to go for dinner? Like, we joke about that. But the truth is that we, as new entrepreneurs at the beginning, struggle with that, being decisive and making a decision. And the second thing that I believe that I experience most people really having a challenge with is forming their own opinions. They want to take everybody else's beliefs. They want to take everybody else's opinions. They want to take everybody else's experience. How have you, and how do you view it's kind of like meeting a new person, right? It's like, how do you can either take what somebody else said, that guy's a real asshole, right? Or that guy's a real jerk, right? Or you can go and meet that person and form your own opinion. Obviously, you saw a lot of things about Legendary. Obviously, you still hear a lot of things just about any topic you want on the internet. How are you and how do you view the things that I'm talking about, forming your own opinions and getting in there and gaining your own experience versus taking somebody else's opinion? This is, I guess, how do you blend self-learning with mentorship, and how much weight do you put on yourself to try and figure it out with guidance, and how much are you looking for mentors, and what specific roles do you believe mentors play in your life, or can play in your life?
Well, that's a big question. I think personally, I believe 90% of it is yourself. It's you taking responsibility for forming your own opinions, whether that's doing research, whether that's meeting the person, and meeting the person might mean doing the challenge, or it might mean purchasing something or doing a course. But you're not going to know unless you actually do it. I see lots of people writing comments about Legendary who haven't actually done Legendary before. And I'm like, well, how would you know that? Or, have you spoken to someone who's done it themselves, or are you just assuming? And I think we can make a lot of mistakes when we assume things about people or places or events or courses that we haven't experienced ourselves. Sorry, I've missed the second part of the question that you said there.
Well, let's backtrack back for a second, because I see some identification and relating with the indecision point that I made a second ago about, and I saw some reaction from you there as well. Can you speak on the your experience with being decisive? How have you become more decisive, and how do you view making decisions about your business?
Well, look, I feel like this is a little unfair. I think I am naturally a decisive person. And that can have blessings and curses. I think I'm a quick decision maker. Does that mean I always make the right decision? Absolutely not. But I make a decision. I commit to something. And if I make a mistake or if I get it wrong, then I deal with the consequences of that. But many times I also get to deal with the blessings of that as well.
Yeah.
I think fostering or growing that ability to be a healthy decision maker comes with practice. It might mean that you need to develop yourself in some way, whether that's getting a great book about decision making, or developing yourself as a person, whether that's building confidence in who you are and understanding your why. So if you know your values and you know why you're doing something, then decisions become really easy. So I know for me, I have like top 5 values that my husband and I work through. And if we make a decision in our life and it doesn't align with those values, then either we're lying to ourselves or something's wrong in our lives. And we need to make an adjustment. So I think values are huge, really important. And so if you maybe are sitting here and thinking, I don't even know what my values are, then I would strongly encourage you to sit down and just start brainstorming, like, what do I really value in life? And everyone has really different values. So for us, it's family, health, our faith in God. So everyone's going to have really different ones, and those things are going to inform the decisions that you make. And it just takes so much of the stress and the worry out of it, because when you put a decision up against those kinds of things, it's really plain. It's really obvious if something's going to be healthy for you or not.
And so if you're looking at something in front of you and you have 2 choices, for example, because that's what a decision usually is, it's a choice between 2 or more things, then how you and your husband are evaluating, but even you specifically as the CEO of your own company are evaluating things, saying to yourself something like, well, which one more supports me being closer and spending more quality time with my family, right?
Yeah, that's a great example.
Okay.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It might mean, if I'm wanting to take back my time and I'm wanting to earn a certain amount of money online, I'm going to invest a certain amount of money on my education so that I can attain that goal, so that I can align with that value that I have. So if I say I value health, for example, but I'm working a 9 to 5, I'm in my car constantly, and I don't have time to even go for a walk in the day or eat healthily, then it means that my life is not aligned with the value that I have, and I need to make changes so that I can get that value back into my life again.
Here's an interesting question, at least it is to me. What do you think happens to us when we don't behave in alignment with our values? For example, if a huge value is, or a top value is family and health, for example, and we don't pursue things that are in alignment or that best get us in a position to be able to make those a priority. What do you think that does to us? And what has that done to you? I mean, is spending time in the car away from the fit. Can you talk to us about the misalignment of your values and articulate that in your own experience, which is clearly the catalyst of why you're doing this?
Yes.
But can you talk to us about how you felt in misalignment with those values? Not that it's your job's fault or anything else like that, because they're clearly, I'm sure your job is a great business providing a great service. But for you personally,
Mm.
just in the spirit of helping people come up with and get a head start on make getting clear on their values and beginning to evaluate their life to see if
Mm.
their actions are in alignment with those values. What are some of the signs that might be happening if your values are not in alignment with your actions?
Yeah, great question. Well, I think for me personally, there is this restlessness that I have within myself where things just aren't sitting right. And I know that sounds quite vague, but it's a bit of a vibe, really, where you feel dissatisfied with how you're living at the time.
Mm,
And sometimes it's a really obvious thing. So, as let's go back to the health thing, for example, that's a big thing for me. Like, I am struggling with my health because I get up at 5 in the morning. I have 3 kids. So I call it the 3 shifts. I have my morning shift, I have my work shift, and then I have the evening shift with the kids. And,
right.
they don't often go to sleep until 9 o'clock at night. And so finding that window to exercise or to meal plan or to create a healthy dinner for my family is incredibly difficult. And it's frustrating. I feel really sad many days, and I feel like I'm chafing at the bit, like there's some piece of clothing on me that's rubbing the wrong way. Or like when you have crumbs in your bed and you get that itchy feeling all over you and you're like, this doesn't fit right. It's not fitting with what I want. I feel uncomfortable and I don't like where I am.
Yeah.
And I think lots of people can resonate with that feeling of dissatisfaction.
Yeah. Man. Wow. I hope you're talking about that out there. This is powerful. What that right there, what you just described and how you said that was so relatable to, I believe, so many people. Would you comment if that was relatable? What Leah just went over and talked about. Uh, I want you to just comment and let us know if you can identify with that, because I haven't felt that way about my job per se in
Mm,
a long time. But my God, I mean, over the last 12 years, there's been plenty of things that I have done that haven't been in alignment with my values, and I've had to make an adjustment or I suffer,
mm.
and um,
I think sometimes too, there's a numbing piece. Like if you go against your values too much and for too long, um, it can deaden, I think, a part of you,
mm,
which that can leave a mark, I think. So
yeah, and
whether
difficult to
it's,
recover,
sorry, say again.
and difficult to recover from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes I think you can forget who you are or forget the dreams that you had or forget the values that you thought were important, because sometimes it feels like those values are just too hard to attain for. They feel
Mm,
too far off in the distance. Like, I want those things for my life, but they're just too hard. And so I'm going to give up on them. And I think the biggest byproduct of that is we lose hope. And that can be deadly, I think, for our souls, for our spirits, for our minds, for our bodies. And that's where I think apathy and depression and anxiety can come in. And I'm not poo-pooing any of those things. So I've experienced those things before. So is my husband. Um, but yeah, I think when we're not aligned with our values, our mental health suffers.
mm. You're speaking to souls right now, sister. You're speaking to souls right now. So you're feeling some hope right now. You're
I
feeling
am.
some hope right now.
I
And
am. Yeah. As soon as I did the challenge, hope ignited. And I was like, this is it. And so I have this gritty determination within me. Like, as I said, I have long days, I have kids. And so I want to give every moment of my day to affiliate marketing, but I just don't have that luxury at the moment. And so I give what I can. I do maybe 30 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes in the evening. I might only post once or twice a day, but I make sure it's a good post. I make sure I think about it. I have a strategy. I have a plan. I look at my analytics. I think about who I'm talking to, and I am constantly reviewing my content and making sure that it's the best it can possibly be, because what such a short window, I have to maximize that time that I have. And if I can do it on the amount of time that I have, anyone can do it.
Well, God, the comments are just, thank you all for, responding back so honestly. It's just really a powerful thing when you get into a judgment-free zone of identification. Um,
Mm,
it's a powerful healing experience, and it
mm,
is also inspirational and hopeful experience.
mm.
Yeah, I first experienced that in the rooms of recovery and treatment and things like
Right.
that when I was getting clean from heroin back in 2008.
It's
Um,
huge.
and even before that, I had tried to get clean before that and was unsuccessful.
Mm.
So I first was introduced in 2004.
I mean, I love how you gloss over that, but just even that journey of recovery is massive. Like, I can't even imagine the determination it must have taken for you to do that. That's huge.
Well, it's the same determination, but what I've realized is that it's the same determination it takes to do anything.
Yeah.
It really is. I
Yeah.
mean,
Or anything you care deeply about.
well, sure, and anything that's worth a dang, because
Mm.
anything that's worth a dang is gonna be hard, okay? So whether you're getting clean from drugs or alcohol, whether you're, getting over a relationship that maybe was something that just, didn't end up the way you wanted, or maybe it was an abusive or hurtful relationship, it's the same thing as starting a business. It's all of these things are really hard. Raising kids, staying, doing the 3 shifts that you're doing right now and then trying to start another business. I mean, it's hard just to exist in
Mm.
life, honestly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I stopped doing, like, when I was earlier in my career, I did a lot of, like, kinda lifestyle fantasy posts where I would post my, like, best picture for the day, and
Mm.
and and I stopped doing that personally just because I realize life is hard, man. Like, life is hard. It's not a
Mm.
highlight reel. And so I'm using my platform now in different ways to try to talk about things that can help people feel seen and feel
Mm.
understood and feel included instead of excluded.
Yeah.
And but
I like that.
but it's hard to get clean from drugs. It's hard to start a business. It's hard to stay married. It's hard to raise kids. And anything, and here's the other thing, is that you can do anything half ass, or you can do something with your full, effort. I've
Mm.
also realized that is that, starting a business like what you're doing right now, what I've done, and
Mm.
what all of you here who are doing and taking action on these goals that you have are doing, starting a business with real effort and zeal and determination and grit, as you said,
Mm.
that's not easy. It's not easy to do. I'd like to
Mm.
just backtrack on that word that you use, because this is also a word that I've used to describe myself in the past, that I feel like I have grit. And I actually
Mm.
feel like, because I don't have any college education, I don't even have a high school diploma.
Mm.
So it's certainly not my massive experience in corporate America or in any sort of college or education system that's helped me to be successful. It's been really
Yeah.
that grit of being
Mhm.
able to, outwit, outlast, outplay people, mostly just outlast, mostly just
Yes.
stay here and not quit. How do
Yeah.
you define grit, and what does that mean in this situation?
Oh, great. Look, I'm sure there's a really wonderful definition that belongs in a book somewhere, but I think to me, grit is like a steely determination that has, I think I picture like a precious metal that's come out of a crucible. Like it's felt the fire, it's felt hardship, and it's come out the other side
Mhm.
refined and ready and better for it. And I think grit describes someone who has been through those kinds of experiences and still chooses that path despite the pain and the hardship that they've been through, knowing that there's probably going to be more to come.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it comes back to mindset stuff, doesn't it, though? Like, mindset's huge. And I like what you said about the outlasting piece. I mean, really, it's something that you guys talk about a lot. It's, don't give up. Just don't give up. That's it.
Well, I wish
It sounds very simple.
I really do wish it wasn't that simple. I wish it was more complicated and we could, I could be up on a chalkboard or something, drawing equations and, really wowing people with my intelligence and wow, this guy's really figured out some unique formula in internet marketing and building businesses and all that. But the truth is that I haven't. I haven't. I've just really realized that as you've just said, and pretty much every other guest on this show has said, is that not giving up, being consistent, it really is the secret to becoming successful at anything. I mean, if you're a watchmaker, if you're a plumber, if you're nobody just goes right into management. If you do, you're probably a crappy manager. You got to learn how to be someone who has the humility to be managed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, it's there's really a process to this, of being consistent and not giving up that for some reason just works. Now, here's my caveat to that. If you've been doing something for like a year or two, and you're just not, it's not that you're not getting any results, but if you're not creating any results, because the world just doesn't give you results just for saying, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
you got to get out there.
I showed up to the gym 30 days in a row. And this is kind of what we see. I'm on the gym analogy quite a bit this morning.
It works.
But I see people say, well, I've been posting for 30 days and and it's like, well, maybe this is the school of hard knocks entrepreneurship. So just forgive my candidness, but I mean, maybe your content sucks. Maybe it needs to get better.
My content was El Crapo for the first month.
Yeah, mine was too.
Rubbish.
My content still sucks sometimes. I mean, we put out videos. I do things that just flop, and I'm like, oh, did anybody see that? You know what I mean? Like, holy shit! I hope nobody's let you just sweep it under the rug and keep going. It's kind of like, well, that didn't work. Are you realizing a lot in entrepreneurship? There's no defined result that if you do X, you're going to get Y, and how do you accept that?
Absolutely.
How do you accept that uncertainty, I guess, of testing things and having the mentality that I'm going to test this to see if it works for me versus needing a guarantee that there's going to be a certain result if I post a certain amount of videos? How do you embrace the uncertainty of the fact that it could flop, but it also could go to the moon?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, I think it's sitting in those feelings. So I think when you're doing things and all of a sudden you notice a feeling that comes up. So it might be, I've posted a video and I thought it would go viral, let's say, and it doesn't. So when that feeling comes up, whether it's frustration or sadness or whatever, it's paying attention to that feeling and going, okay, why do I feel that feeling? And understanding, oh, maybe I had some really unrealistic expectations 1 month in or 3 months into this business, So I think sometimes we can experience an emotion, get carried away with it and not pay attention as to why we're having it. So looking at that emotion and going, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Is it valid? What do I need to do about it? Maybe it's just I sit in that sadness or that frustration and go, that was frustrating. What am I going to do about it? So for example, like I said, my content was crap for the first month. And then I found a bit in the training that I had missed. And it was a video with Matt and it was a great strategy piece. And all of a sudden I had a much better strategy and my content improved. And one of my videos went viral, it went up to 8 million views. My TikTok went up to 35,000 followers. And a week later I lost it. It was gone. Which, and so I had my day of grief and but I knew it was going to happen. So I had done enough of the training to hear that TikTok was fickle and it was likely going to be gone. And so I said, okay, what did I learn from this? What did I learn from something going viral? That was very overwhelming. And then getting all those followers and then losing it. What did I learn from that? What I learned was it works. The strategy works. And so I could have come away from that experience thinking, oh, this is crap. Things don't work. TikTok sucks, etc., etc. Instead, I came away thinking, okay, that was a great test run. Now I know the strategy works and I can build upon it. I can do something a little bit different next time so that my videos don't keep getting banned. FYI, I'm onto my third TikTok, but that's okay. So
And
yeah,
should have backups and
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, we don't own these platforms. We just get to rent them every day for absolutely free. So just everybody keep that in mind. It's sort of like, you know, well, maybe you lost an account, but you also didn't pay for it. It didn't cost you anything, and you most likely got a lot of gain out of that before for some reason it got flagged, banned, you know, temporarily. This is just part of the game. Ad accounts get disabled, accounts sometimes we lose them, but we have to make sure to use social media, not let social media use us. I love that you embrace the feeling of grief and disappointment, which is a feeling that I felt hundreds of thousands of times over this journey of 12 years of doing this. Anger, rage sometimes when I am sitting there building out a keynote presentation, 200 slides in, and my power goes out or something and I forgot to save it. Feelings of wanting to throw my computer out the window, feelings of wanting to you know, cuss somebody out, feelings of wanting to find somebody to blame, feelings of wanting self pity, feelings of feeling sorry for myself, feeling like a victim. All of these things are totally normal feelings.
They're not bad.
They're not bad. They're not bad. And a lot of times we hear gurus, the real motivational ones, the ones that don't usually run companies, but just do our motivational speakers. They tell us about things like, you know, just snapping out of it, or just, you know, not having those feelings, or how to not have those feelings. But I've realized that those feelings are going to come whether I say they can come or not. And so I need to learn how to manage them. And I think your point a few moments ago about numbing ourselves out is a potential trap for a lot of us, because if our default is in our current life that we may not be totally happy with, to numb out, well, if we're, you know, by going and getting drunk or getting high or scrolling or watching porn or going, there's a million things that we all as human beings use to just numb out and not deal with the present moment. And instead, when that comes up, to go on a walk and be like, wow, this is what it feels like to be disappointed. This is what it's like to be angry. This is what it's like to be rageful. This is what it's like to be sad. This is what it's like, all that. And then turn that mess into a message. This is my entire marketing strategy over the last 12 years is, and I've been, you know, I started out sober. So I had to, you know, I was sober back in 2008, 9 when I started this. So I was, you know, I did have to face everything, my feelings, but I learned to manage those feelings and turn those emotions not into self-loathing or not pile on. I think a lot of times we stuff those feelings and they add to that big bag that we feel like we're carrying around all the time. But instead, when I've had a disappointing or really frustrating situation, and I don't always do it perfectly, but I've learned to embrace it and into find the silver lining, find the teachable thing from it, find what I can share with others that I learned from, and then communicate that, because then I'd be able to process that and actually emote a little bit, right? I'd actually be able to get some of that out.
It's coming from a real place.
I would go create content and I would talk about it. Sometimes I'd get passionate and I'd turn that rage into passion on video and, you know, get excited about, you know, maybe even take some of that frustration out on, you know, the college system or my old job or whatever, you know, but channel that emotion and process it in a productive way that then contributed back to my business through
Yeah.
more marketing content.
Mm,
That's been my personal experience with what you just laid out so beautifully. It
mm.
sounds like you're on the path to kind of doing similar things, or the
Yeah, I mean,
exact
look, I look at, I have feelings of inadequacy and I have feelings of frustration, that I haven't made $1 million in 4 months, like the amazing Chelsea and the amazing Beth.
understood.
Yeah, like everyone has that feeling.
Yeah,
Everyone. I'm sure every person in the chat right now feels frustrated that they don't have $1 million, maybe. And that's okay. But I think what we all need to understand is we're on our own journey. We're doing our own thing. And sometimes, you're going to have the same mistakes over and over again if you're not taking that time to reflect. I had an amazing boss one time who said, a moment unreflected is a moment lost. And sometimes if we're rushing for the win, we're rushing for the goal, we're missing the lessons along the way. And so having that moment to sit down and go, okay, whether it's a failure or a win, whatever it is, reflecting over it and going, what did I learn? Because you don't want to have to relearn those things over and over again. Take the time to sit down and learn it and apply it and make it better.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Couple of questions I just wanted to take from the audience. How do you deal with negative people out there online? And how do you deal with negative people in general? I guess there could also potentially be some negative people in your real life. I'm not sure. But how do you deal with negative people on the internet who may be making nasty comments or I mean, how do you field those questions and how do you determine when to answer it or when to block?
That's a great question. I think if it's offensive, so usually if people are swearing at me online, it's a delete and block. It's just a no-brainer for me. I think oftentimes people, when they are being negative online, and it's coming from a genuine place, usually it's coming out of fear. And so I look at that and I go, they're afraid. They're afraid. They're afraid it's a scam, or they're afraid that it's real.
Right.
And so I try and be gentle and authentic with the people. Sometimes people will write trashy comments on my thing, and I'll be like, sometimes I'm in a bit of a sassy mood, so I might write, "Thank you for the boost to my algorithm." Other times I'll be like, "Okay, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts." If it depends, what mood I'm in. Other times I'll ignore it. That's online stuff, but really most of the time I'm a delete and block type person. But if they're voicing genuine questions or concerns, I try and leave it there. You don't have to engage with every piece of comment or material that people put on your stuff. You are under no obligation to do that. And so many times I just don't. I leave it. They can have their, I had on my viral video, I had a whole chain of people just talking about my Australian accent and how they couldn't understand what I was saying. It was like 47 comments long, but boosted the heck out of the video. So I'm not going to take that down. I'm not going to delete it. You guys can talk about my accent as much as you want.
People are just,
it's hilarious. But, everyday life, if you've got negative people in your life, I think that comes down to boundaries, doesn't it? So you have boundaries in the way you would work as an entrepreneur, and you think ahead. What am I going to do when I experience a negative comment or something like that on my content? How do I want to deal with that? And so when it comes up, you already have a plan. Execute the plan, done. If it's someone in real life, maybe you've got a toxic relative or a inappropriate workmate. There are boundaries there. There are places and people you can talk to. And at the end of the day, you don't have to talk to people at all if you don't want to. You don't have to accept the premise of their conversation. You don't have to take on their baggage. You can just say, thank you, goodbye. You don't have to have the argument. You don't have to enter into the conversation. You are in charge of your own life.
I love that. Well said. Beautifully said. I wonder if some of you who really get triggered by negative comments and they really send you into a spiral or a tailspin or really kind of throw you off for the entire day. I wonder, and I'm not saying I'm not part of that. I could be part of that some days. I'm a human being. Something that somebody says could throw me off. I'm not, I guess I'm not the guru that some gurus are. I still got a lot of just regular blood flowing through these.
Well, you're a human being, Dave. It's okay.
Human beings. I know. Gee whiz. And I wonder if some of you or some of us who have those kind of dilemmas can, as you said, create a plan that where you have, at least in the beginning, where you have kind of a set couple of options to choose from in terms of a response. If somebody's being negative, I mean, you're usually going to get a lot of the same comments. I mean, this is one of the things that I've found in 12 years. When you pick a niche and you have a message, there's usually going to be common things that people say.
People are very uninventive.
They're very predictable. They're very predictable. I mean, the questions that we see, we see people in the comments here. Hey, anybody bought the blueprints? Hey, what funnel builder do you go with? Hey, it's a lot of the same questions, and we don't blame you all for having those questions. You're a new person in this situation, but just know that thousands of people before you have also asked that question, and they've been all right. And most of them have. What I encourage all of you to do is again, go through, get that experience yourself. If you're choosing between two funnel builders, log in and take a free trial of each one of them. Play around with them.
That's right.
Choose which
best way to learn. Play with the technology.
Yeah, choose which one feels more comfortable in your hands or for you. But yeah, I wonder if you can, those of you who really are thrown off by negative comments, can create some just very simple canned responses that you just respond, kind of like you just gave a couple of examples. Hey, thanks so much for your comment. It really boosted the algorithm. I mean, if you wanted to be sassy, hey, that's a great question. I cover that in my lives. I do lives Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Come join us. There's ways to answer questions. And this is what I think we all need to figure out how to do is, yes, we're all, the role here is to serve people and help people. But at the end of the day, you're the business and you need to do what's in the best interest of the business.
Yeah,
right?
That's good. I like that.
You can't do what's in the best interest of the customer if it hurts the business, right? So the customer's not always right. The customer's just not. Now, that doesn't mean that I have to disrespect and fight with the customer, because if I'm doing that, then we're all losing. But if the customer is, I can't sit here and answer everybody's negative comments or respond to everybody's critical or abusive comments and think that there's still going to be mental and emotional space for me to be able to be productive and creative and hopeful and serve the people that actually deserve my attention. So,
and not a great use of your time either. Like if you've got other comments that are needing to be addressed, certainly not putting priority to the negative ones. They can wait.
Without a doubt. And that really goes back to the boundaries that you were even talking about having in your regular life. Like one of the biggest discoveries that I realize as an adult is that I don't owe anybody an explanation.
Nope. You can just say no, period. Done.
And they can keep talking and I can just say, I'm going to excuse myself now. The worst thing that I have had a tendency to do is when somebody does something hurtful, then have a big hurtful reaction back and try to hurt them worse than they hurt me. And guess who ends up staying hurt? Me. I stay frustrated. I stay angry. And so learning how to have those boundaries. We'll wrap up here in a moment. We're running over the hour and I want to be respectful of your time. It's 1 a.m. in the morning there. Thank you so much.
I'm loving this conversation. It's lots of fun.
Thank you so much for staying up with us. How do you create boundaries in your home, in your physical space, and with your family now that you have introduced something new into mommy and wife's? And, they didn't ask you to do this, although they might want you to be home more and they will definitely enjoy the benefits and fruits of your labor. But this is something that you're choosing to do, but you simultaneously need their support, but also you need them to give you space. So how are you navigating setting these boundaries while also asking for their support within your home?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think part of that was just learning and growing with the process, starting to understand what was required of me. So, as things start to pick up, you start to get more comments and you start to have more emails, and there are more things that are demanding your time. And I'm a worker. Like, I don't think it matters what I'm doing. I enjoy work. And so if anything, I think too much. So for me, having boundaries is really important, because otherwise mummy can be on her phone with little 3-year-old saying, "Mummy, come play with me." And all of a sudden I'm out of alignment in that value of family and time, quality time with them. So I try and do it in the evenings. It's once the kids are in bed, that's when I'm doing content. That's when I'm answering comments and DMs and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes I'll do it really early in the morning if the kids are getting ready for school and, my 3-year-old's eating breakfast and no one needs me in that moment. I might be doing a little bit of work then. So, but really, that's it.
How did you approach your husband, who I'm sure wants your time and wants to be with you, and how did you communicate that to your spouse, who in some cases a spouse could be afraid that, oh my gosh, she's starting something else, I'm not going to get my needs met. How have you talked with him and assured him that he's still a priority and you are going to pursue what you're pursuing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if anything, we've swung a little bit like a pendulum. So it's been very much trial and error. So I think where we've landed though is, once the kids are in bed, we've talked about having just some time for him and I in the evening. So he has to get up really early for work. So he goes to bed quite early. So that's at an hour or so in the evening. That's us time. That's where we get to talk and connect. And similar, we have chunks of time on the weekend as well, what we call family adventure time, where I'm not on the computer, I'm not on the phone, we are engaged as a family. Because, it was certainly creeping in the evenings initially. And so that was a conversation we had to have where he's like, do I ever get to see you anymore? So, and that's just how it is, you started something new, still got a full-time job, having to bring in a business, there's going to be that time where it's big and messy and, with the hope and the goal that eventually that's going to drop away, and that's going to then come into middle of the day when he's at work, and all of a sudden there'll be a lot more time free.
Yeah. And I, without a doubt, know that you two are going to be, and you as a family are going to be doing lots of things together. And
I can't wait. I have so many plans.
I'm sure you do.
Be amazing.
I'm sure you do. What piece of advice, to bring this in for a landing, would you give yourself, knowing what you know now, back when you started?
I would say to myself, it's worth doing the mindset work at the start. I had a big fear of other people judging me if I left Christian ministry work. So doing that work early, I think I would remind myself that's important. And I think the other piece would be set your boundaries a little earlier. But really, I already jumped in whole hog. So I would just say, go get it, girl. Get on it. You got it.
And learn as you go.
Learn as you go. That's it. Click, pause.
So many of us feel that it has to be perfect before we start, and that everything has to be in order and everything has to be perfectly aligned. And that's just, I don't even know that happens in the movies. I don't know where we get the idea of that, but that perfectionism and that kind of feeling, like, well, I'll start tomorrow, I'm not ready yet, and all that. It's just a feeling that plagues us all. And so,
it was the fear piece for me was big. So having my face on social media, doing something so very different to what I do for a job, I was worried about judgment. So
absolutely.
I had to work through that. It took a solid week for me to work through that.
Was just because now that's piqued my interest, just without going into details about your personal space and your personal process, was that you stepping away from everything, stepping away from your computer? What did that soul searching, or what did that kind of look like? I mean, how did that week go down? That sounds like a memorable week.
It was,
Like
yeah. I think it was what we touched on before, like experiencing these very strong reactions and emotions to the idea of filming myself and putting content out with my face on it. And just paying attention to that, going, wow, okay, that's a big reaction. Why am I feeling that way? And realizing that I had this really deep-seated fear of being judged by people in Christian ministry, which I 100% know that's not true. But that was obviously this really whacked out thought that I had in my head. And it got to the point where I was like, well, hang on a minute. I have friends who are hairdressers and concreters, and they're Christians, and I don't judge them for not working in Christian ministry. Why would I think that other people would judge me if I switched into a different thing? Because at the end of the day, it's just a job / business. Like it doesn't define me. It's not who I am as a person. It's not part of my identity. Yeah, but that took me a while to work through. So part of that was having conversations with my husband. Part of it was praying. Part of it was journaling and sitting in those uncomfortable feelings until I got to the point of going, stuff it. Let's go.
Great advice. Great. That's so crystal clear, and such an honest and real, story of how you found hope. It didn't just, lightning didn't just strike. I mean, I was talking, speaking of Christian ministry, I was talking about something I heard from TD Jakes the other day,
I love that guy.
which is that God doesn't make picnic tables and chairs, people. He just makes trees. And we have to figure out or see, right? The gift right in front of us. And then we have to do the work in order to get the hope. It doesn't just I mean, look, I've been looking for a burning bush my whole life. Only burning bush I've personally ever found was one that I set on fire.
Yeah. Well, it's like saying, like, someone's like, God, help me catch the bus, but they're not running for the bus. Like, God's giving you legs, use them,
Right. Absolutely use them in these powerful minds and all these wonderful people around us that we can lean on. And if we aren't feeling support from our spouse, then that's something that we need to look at. Hey, what part am I playing? There's just so much to finding hope. It usually doesn't just find you. You find hope. I've found hope. I've got hope through the actions that I've taken and through looking at the tree and seeing what I can build with the tree.
And choosing to invest in that.
Absolutely. Leah, the wonderful conversation. So many wonderful compliments to you. Amazing speaker. Such authenticity in calm and gentle authority. Not tyrant. Yelling and screaming, but clearly boss babe. I've seen that in the So I'm wondering. Yeah, you've got it going on for you.
I'm hoping to come out to a mastermind soon, so I would love to see everybody in person. It's just a bit tricky to come from Australia.
Of course, all in due time. It won't be tricky one day. One day it'll be a lot simpler than it is right now. One day
it's all going to slip together, and it's going to be the perfect timing, and I'm going to come up and shake your hand, and it's going to be great.
We'll still be here, and as long as you stay consistent and stay on the path that you're on, I'm sure you'll be making your way around the world and meeting all the people and seeing all the places that you want to see along with your family. And I look forward to that for you.
Thanks, Dave. It's lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too, Leah. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Thank you so much for staying up until 1:15 in the morning with us. Thank you so much. Seriously. Thank you so much for an absolutely wonderful Wake Up Legendary show this morning, and have yourself a legendary slumber tonight. Okay?
I will. Don't you worry.
All right, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
All right, my friends. There you go. You can follow Leah at She's Working Smart on Instagram. She's Working Smart. SHES Working Smart. She's Working Smart over on Instagram. Go follow Leah. Be inspired. Follow her journey. The powerful part about these shows is that you get to hear the behind the scenes story of somebody who maybe you're watching 15 or 30-second videos and maybe it looks easy, or you think it came natural, or you think that, it was just a bolt of lightning that gave them, the courage, or the camera presence, or the words. But I promise you, my friends, it's all practice. It's all staying with it. It's all sticking with it. It's all continuing to try to find, where can I grow, and looking at each moment and saying, what can I learn from it? Not using situations as a reason to convince yourself that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that it's not going to work for you, but to walk away from each situation saying, what can I take from that? What can I learn from that? How can I get better? And that's exactly what we heard this morning. So thanks again, Leah. Wonderful, wonderful talk. Thank you again for staying up late. And thank you all for being on with us for an hour and 15 minutes this morning through this wonderful show. We'll see you back here tomorrow for another episode like we always do. This is Dave Sharpe signing out. Get out of here. Peace.